o'clock. Is that right? Yep, 1 o'clock on Thursday, which means time for YouTube. So let me just do a quick refresh over here to be sure that we are actually doing what we're supposed to be doing. Once again, when I opened YouTube to get started, it was a completely different looking landing screen, so that was fun. You know what? I'm going to turn this around because I don't want that to be a distraction since I had it upside down. That would be bad, right? All right, so before we get started, y'all did see that the retiring list is out. It's on my website. One thing to just be sure that you remember, hi Rosie, hi Terry, is although there are discounted prices listed on the list, printed on the list, those don't take effect until the 4th of April. You are certainly able to buy things now, but if you're waiting for that discount, you have to wait for the 4th. Just a pro tip. It's kind of like going to Costco. If you see something you love, you might want to get it because everything on there now is while supplies last. So if they sell out before you can get the discounted price, then you're going to miss out on something you love. So that's the risk reward that you have to weigh. Is it worth waiting for a 30% discount or maybe even a 50% discount, or do you want it badly enough to grab it up? So a couple of things that you may have missed that are actually on the retiring list, in case you didn't catch it, the stitched rectangles is retiring, which is one of my staple go-to die sets. So if you don't have those yet, I'd highly recommend them. And don't even ask me why, because really all I know is the very little that we've been told. If you missed it, the Stamparatus is retiring. Okay, and that means also the magnets and the foam pads and all the accessories that go with it. The Stamparatus is certainly while supplies last. If we have any left over at the end of the sales period, it will go into the online exclusive portion of the online store. Okay, so I'm really not sure why it's retiring. I'm really, really sad that it's retiring, and I'm hoping that there will be a replacement as we go down the road, and hopefully not too far down the road. Okay, so let's talk about our card for today. I went back to the annual catalog, and I am using a couple of things that are actually retiring. So the Cottage Rose bundle with the Pretty Cottage Rose stamp set and Cottage Flowers dies is a retiring item, as is the Abigail Rose DSP. So we all expect the DSPs to retire pretty much, right? I mean, it's very, very unusual for things to carry over, and that's the case. I don't think there are any carryover DSPs. All right. So these are retiring. Want to get those before you need them, before they run out. The other thing that is retiring that I'm using on here is the natural finish ribbon, which is gorgeous. And I'm going to show you a fun thing to do with it in case you didn't know. But I am also using TaylorMade tags. Oh, they're stitched rectangles as an ode to my bestest thing yet. Between this and Stylish Shapes, I'm hoping that when the first Stitch Shapes went away, we were all upset and verklempt, and then they came back with Stylish Shapes, which was better. So now we'll do our period of mourning with first stitched rectangles, and then they're going to pop back with something equally or better awesomeness. Okay, so don't despair, but if you don't have a set, I highly recommend that you get them now. All right. And then we're going to use the TaylorMade tags today, which is not retiring. It is carrying over into the new catalog, so yay. All right, before we get too much further down the road, I'm going to put this graphic here. Some of you have asked what the retiring colors are. So I posted this on my blog, but if you want to take a screenshot here, I'll make it bigger so that it's a reasonably good screenshot for you. There you go. If you want that, you can take that, and then you will know which colors you need to be getting ink pads, cardstock, refills, markers, those kinds of things. Okay, so those are the retiring colors. Let's go ahead and make a card, shall we? Let's make a card. This is what we're going to be working on. It is a birthday card. Very simple. Really, really love this color combo. The Early Espresso Petal Pink, which is not retiring. I'm glad of that. And Crumb Cake. So very, very pretty. We're going to start with some of the Abigail Rose DSP. And I know I'm going to kind of miss Parapizzazz too. I was so happy to see Granny Apple Green make it across into the other side, as it were, that I was able to cope with the loss of Soft Suede. I really like how pecan pie is looking, and the new in colors, boy, they are straight up in my wheelhouse. Real earthy, neutrally colors. So very appropriate for certainly the kinds of cards that I like to make. Hence today's card. Okay, so here we go. I did a little bit of pre-cutting. This is Abigail Rose DSP, and I have just used the largest of the squared off TaylorMade Tags dies to cut 2 of them out. And we're just going to adhere those with some liquid glue. Some of you who do challenges, you might recognize this layout. It's for the paper players. I know, I was shocked and also saddened that the only color that carried over was Fresh Freesia. It's of them, it's my least favorite. So you know me, I was hoping for Evening Evergreen, Soft Succulent, and Polished Pink for sure, and Pale Papaya if I could get greedy. Okay, now we have that. Let me show you something cool about this ribbon. If you don't already have some of this, get you some, okay? So this is nice and wide. It is 7/8 of an inch wide, which is a good size, and it's very soft, so it has a nice feel. And you can do this with it. Here we go. Yeah, the new colors are awesome, Carol. I'm very, very excited about them. In fact, I'll be pre-ordering them next week. One of those perks of being a demonstrator. And, you know, just not to put too fine a point on it, if you're interested in joining, you could join now and pre-order with me next week. And there's like 4 pages of pre-order stuff. So there's a lot to play with. All I'm doing here, this is one of the leaves from the Cottage Rose set. And I am stamping it right smack onto the ribbon in Mossy Meadow ink. I was very happy that Mossy Meadow is also carrying over. And I'm just going to do a few stamps across. And that ought to be enough, but I'm going to put another one just as an insurance policy. Like, you know, a real insurance policy. Like what? Yes, pre-order. Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. So we're going to just adhere this. So all I'm going to do, let me show you how I do this. I like things to fall off the edges of my card front. I just do. Not off the edges of the card base, but certainly off the edges of the card front. And somewhere around here is my bone folder. There it is. I'm using my Early Espresso card base. And I just set the card front in place so that I can measure this. This is very technical. I'm just going to put it on like so and measure it across. I want it to go side to side. And then I'm just going to cut like that. All right. So it will extend off a little bit long. That's what my scissors are for. Okay. And then I'm going to use some Stampin' Seal to adhere it. Hello from Brazil, Monica. Hello. I know, Faith, it does take a minute. And so that's why I'm really excited to get it in my hot little hands next week. Actually, it won't be next week. Well, it might be next week. I'll probably be able to get it next week. All right, so I'm just putting a strip of the Stampin' Seal across there. And I'm going to adhere that straight as I can make it be. All right, there we go. Now, on some very vanilla cardstock, I have stamped a few things. I have 2 of the smaller flowers from Cottage Rose and 2 of the leaves. I stamped the cottage flowers in crumb cake ink, and then I've already colored them with my light and dark petal pink Stampin' Blend. So we're going to do these flowers on the inside and the envelope flap, so you'll get to see how to color them. So I thought it was safe to go ahead and do it ahead of time. You're not missing anything. Then these little guys are stamped in Mossy Meadow, and I'm going to use my light Mossy Meadow blend, Stampin' Blend, to color the leaves. And I am not the queen of coloring. I just color. And sometimes I get real fancy, and I'll use the darker one to highlight the shading marks that Stampin' Up! Gives us. But I did not do that this time. So for the leaves, I did it on the flowers, but for the leaves, I'm really literally just coloring. I'm coloring. And I'm trying to stay in the lines, just like we learned in kindergarten. Stay in the lines, people. Stay in the lines. I mean, you know, you don't have to. And remember that with blends, there might be some bleeding, so be judicious about getting right up to the line, if you will. Most of the time, it doesn't do too bad a job and it stays where it belongs, but, you know, be careful. So we're going to do these. You'll be glad to know these are the only leaves on the whole card, so this is the only time you have to watch this. Somebody go put some water and some concrete and watch it dry. I'm sure it's almost as enticingly exciting about as this is to watch. All right. Yeah, we had a good yesterday was a big time. That was big time fun. We watched Sarah and a few of the other folks from the head office introduce all the new colors, and we got to see some fabulous samples, which I'll be sharing with you over the next week or so. And so next week on the 4th, not only do I get to do my pre-order, but I'll be ordering all my catalogs. So if you are already a customer of mine, i.e. you've spent at least $50 in retail with me over the past year, you are automatically on my list. If you are not one of my customers and you are not working with another demonstrator and you'd like a catalog, go ahead and get an order in with my online store, and that will place you on my list. And you want to do that sooner than later so that I get you in my first round. Because what I'll do is I will order everything next week. I can't expedite. They won't let me expedite annual catalogs. So as soon as I get it back, probably a week later or so, then I will certainly get them turned around and back out to you in a very beautiful, I have a very beautiful envelope this time. It'll be blue with white daisies on it. Now, I'm taking the bullet end of the dark Mossy Meadow, and I am holding my tongue just right, which is hard because I'm also talking, and I'm very, very, very carefully coloring the stem. Yeah, this is the extent of my very exciting coloring. I am coloring the stem with the dark blend. Yes. Can I color or what? Just saying. All right. So here we go. Dun, 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 dun. There. All right. Now it's really a matter of doing some adhering. I cut 2 of the die cuts, the kind of lacy flowers from Mossy, no, this is not Mossy Meadow. In what universe would my brain have thought Mossy Meadow when I looked at this? I don't even know. This is very vanilla. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this on here because I'm going to let stuff overlap if it wants to. And I'm just going to use a little bit, I don't know what to do now. What, my brain just went off. Okay, I'm using liquid glue. Oh my goodness. Funny. Using a little liquid glue. Here's a little story. I came in this morning to start getting my room cleaned up. If you haven't figured it out, I am not a tidy stamper. Looks like I am, right? Because all you see here is tidy. But if you could see what I can see, you'd be like, oh my Lord, an EF4 went through her craft room. So anyway, I come in this morning to clean stuff up, and I realized my liquid glue is sitting on the desk just like that. And there's the, the lid was right next to it. I was like, oh, that's not good. But I just kind of pulled a little bit of, you know, dried up glue off of there. And look, it's working almost perfectly. All right, so now I've got one of my very vanilla die cuts, and I'm going to do one of my stamped and die cut leaves. Now, obviously, I have my sample off stage left here, so I know what I'm doing already. But when I first was making this, I did a bunch of dry fits until my brain said, what? If my brain said, wah, or boom chakalaka. Sometimes my brain says boom chakalaka, and then I know it's time to take a quick picture of that layout so that I have some shot of repeating it, and then we're good to go. Okay, so far, as you'll notice, I'm really just using liquid glue. My last flower will have dimensionals because otherwise, is it really my card? No, it isn't my card if I haven't put some dimensionals on the flowers. All right, and then I'm going to put this one on before I put my final little doodah in there. So I'm going to keep my dimensionals towards the middle of my flower so I can slide that other little guy in. And this guy's gonna go over here like this. I love these flowers. I believe these are maybe camellias. They look kind of like camellias to me. I just made that up. I don't know if that's true or not, but I think they do. They look like camellias. All right, and then this last little dude, I know the liquid glue is just the very best. I probably have 20 bottles sitting in my drawer behind me because liquid glue, toilet paper, and coffee, and dimensionals. These are 4 things we do not run out of at the Deathridge house. I'm just saying. All right, and then I'm just going to tuck that little guy in there like so with his liquid glue. Now, we're going to tie a bow. So I hadn't looked to see. I mean, I assumed that Stampin' Up! Would not have gone so far off the rails as to retire the linen thread, but they retired the Stamparatus. So I was starting to feel a little bit of doubt. So I had to pour through the fast get to the ribbon section of the catalog and make sure that liquid glue, that linen thread was still there because no, if the linen thread retires, I don't know if I could stand it, people. I just don't know if I could stand it. I don't know what I would do. If linen thread retired, I don't know what I would do. How would I make a Farrah Fawcett bow? Which this isn't, but you know, I could have made a Farrah Fawcett bow because I have linen thread still. This guy is not, I did not run him through my bone folder enough times, apparently. So what I've done here is I've taken 2 lengths of linen thread and tied just a simple bow, okay? And we'll cut that off and cut that in too. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a glue dot and I'm gonna adhere the bow down against the ribbon. That will negate some of the extra dimension that I get so that I don't have quite such a hard time getting over the top of it with my sentiment. I know. And they're going to have, there'll be somebody be going, clear, poof. You know, Mary has had a death event. She's floating above her body, looking at herself, mourning the loss of linen thread. She cannot make cards. All right, so I'm just pushing that on and getting it pushed down. So I don't know if you can see, but by doing it below that, it's really actually below the dimensionalized flower right there. Can you tell that? I'm not sure if you can hold it like that. Maybe that works. Okay, so to put on my sentiment, I am going to use double stacks over here and 1 dimensional right there just to give it a little bump. A little bump of poo, a little bumper-rooney, a bumpopotamus. See, I've got bumpopotamus in my head now. And what I'm going to do is I just put those on the card front. Remember, I like to do that, especially when I'm going over the top of something, because I don't have to worry about where I've put them on my sentiment. So this will be enough for now. I'm going to take these 2 covers off and put a second dimensional. In case you've ever wondered what I meant by double stack dimensionals, that was it right there. Put one down, take off its lid, put another one on top. But this is a single stack because of the way the other things underneath it are going. And then let's see, I think I'll hold this straight, try to make this as straight as I can so that this is as straight as I can make it. Hang on, come off of there. I didn't want you quite that high on the ribbon. There we go. Okay, and then I need another stack down there, so I'm going to make another one just to support that sentiment a little bit. I wonder if some of the popular, you know, I don't think so. They give us a little code. If you look down at the bottom of the retiring list, there's a code. A lot of things have asterisks over in the column called reference. And depending on how many asterisks there are, there's a note for them at the bottom of the table. And I did not see any that said going into the online store. That doesn't mean I didn't miss it, because sometimes I miss these things. So I just stuck that double stack right under the end. And then I'm going to use some rustic metallic dots, adhesive back dots, and you will be so, so glad to know these are carrying over. These, they'd have had to pry, I'd have used these until I could not get them anymore, and I would have just said, you know what, I'm really sorry, you guys, you can't get these now, but I'm using them. That's what I'd have done, because I love them that much. All right, so there's our card front. Very pretty, I love it. I like it. I love it. I want some more of it. Okay, so let's put them on the inside. I have a piece of Very Vanilla, and let me get my envelope out so that we can be all efficient. I'm all about efficiency. Perhaps you've forgotten that. Okay, and here we are, French vanilla creamer. Yeah, the coffee without some sort of creamer. We're peppermint mocha people. We're a peppermint mocha family here. But yes, creamer for us is right up there. Okay, so I'm doing this little same flour in crumb cake, and I'm just gonna do one in the corner and one right next to it, and that's the inner liner. And then I'll do the same on the front of my envelope. And you wait until you see the very, very technical coloring that I do on these. You're gonna be, whoo, coming in like, oh my gosh, that woman can color. Okay, you ready? Try not to blink because you'll probably miss it. I'm using the light petal pink. Now remember, one thing to tell you first. When you are coloring on an envelope, you could stick a piece of plastic inside to keep it from bleeding through, or you can just be very light-handed because it will, if you push too hard and get all jiggy with it, it will bleed through. And then you'll be like, oh, that's the most beautiful flower. Oh yeah, it's all bled through. So don't do that. So all I'm doing here is literally taking the light petal pink and just flooding the field, as they say. Actually, they say that in cookie decorating. I read that once in a cookie decorating blog, and at that point I was like, yeah, so you want me to make an outline with one kind of frosting and then flood the outline with another kind of frosting and then decorate the flooded frosting with another kind of frosting? Yeah, I think I'll make cupcakes. That's a lot easier. All right. So I don't like to cut out cookies and I don't like to decorate cookies. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all of you decorator cookie people at Christmas. I'm sorry. I just don't like it. It bores me. I get too bored and I have no creative juices. So they're like, oh, it's a candy cane. Well, I guess I need white and red. All right, so let that do its thing. Make sure I haven't bled through, and we'll do the exact same on the inside panel. And then the magic is going to start to happen, people. Then the magic will happen. If y'all are looking for how to color, I recommend you check out Carol Buckaloo's videos on Wednesdays at 1, because she is a very good colorer, and I am a rank amateur colorer. But, you know, I do make good Farrah Fawcett bows, in my defense. All right. One other thing to remember, especially on your envelope, because you can see the back side, if you get too busy down here and do some scrubbing, it will actually bleed through to the back. Now, if you're going to mail it, you can just blame that on the post office. Oh, it's a little dirty there. It's a little dirty, and you can know. See. So anyway, I'm just saying, if you're not careful, it can bleed to the back. So just take your time when you're up against the edges. And if you'll take your marker and go out towards the edge of the cardstock instead of coming this way, if that made sense. Okay, all right, get ready for the magic. Here we go. Here we go. This is the same. Okay, now I'm just going to take, I'm still using the brush end. Oh, speaking of markers, I have to tell you something. This is a complete segue. In the new catalog, and I don't have any yet to show you, but in the new catalog, they have redesigned our Stampin' Write markers. They made the brush tip better, so it's pointier and smoother. And what they told us is that they designed it to color better. But the big change, the huge change, is on the bullet end. The bullet end, this bullet end, you may or may not love it, okay? Because it sometimes does and sometimes doesn't ink so good, right? It's hard to kind of draw with it. So the new design really almost is the same kind of idea as the bullet tip on a Stampin' Blend, but a little narrower, okay? So I'm very, very excited to see the new marker cutout markers. Okay, anyway, sorry. Okay. So I have the brush end of my dark petal pink. Okay, now watch closely. You see where all those shadow marks are that Stampin' Up! Gave us? I am literally just brushing this over it. This is a particularly good technique with the lighter colors. It works really nice because they kind of blend all by themselves, and they blend just enough to blend without disappearing. I'm coloring in where I have like folds of petal. Like here's a fold of a petal, here's a fold of a petal, and a fold of a petal. Otherwise, I'm really just kind of brushing my Stampin' Write marker right over those. And all it does is just add a little life and a little depth to those petals, See? Aren't you glad you only have to watch this for 4 flowers instead of 6 if I had not pre-colored? Okay, so that's all I did. And you can see it really does shadow it pretty nicely without having to go to really one heck of a lot of effort. So I'm coloring in the folds solid like that. And let's see, I'll do them as I see them if I see some more. And then I'm just brushing over the shade marks, the shading marks that Stampin' Up! Gives us. I really love to let the, the Stampin' Up! Artists do their job because they're really, really good. They're actually artists. I'm a colorer, copier person. There we go. All right, almost done, and then we're just gonna glue it all together and we'll be done, skay. Y'all remember I have double peppermints going now through the 5th, so as you are gathering up those retiring goodies, whether you do it now or you wait until the sale prices go into effect, you'll be getting double peppermints on everything over $50. Try to remember to put my host code in, okay? Alrighty. I know, Faith. I saw that, and that was the first thing I thought was, now I'm going to need a whole bunch more markers, because I do love the markers. I refuse to not have the markers. They have saved me and my cards way too many times. Way too many times. All right. So we're just going to use a little bit of liquid glue. You could use Stampin' Seal if that is your preferred adhesive. My preferred adhesive is almost always, oh, that's not the right one. Let's use the one that doesn't already have a liner in it, shall we? Let's do that. Let's go crazy and do that. All right. So again, Early Espresso card base. Love, love, love Early Espresso, vanilla, and petal pink. Add in crumb cake, and I am a happy person. I was really glad that crumb cake left. I was sorry to see soft suede and Sahara sand, but as long as I have crumb cake, I can live. I mean, how could we do Christmas without crumb cake? That can't even be a thing. That just can't even be a thing. All right, so some dimensionals on our card front. And we'll then once we get this done, we'll put our DSP on the envelope flap. And guys, we'll be done with this pretty card. So if you don't already have Cottage Rose, highly recommend. Highly recommend. 4 out of 5 card makers recommend having Cottage Rose in your stash. Alrighty. Now, I'll be back on Saturday, so I hope you'll join. I have no idea what we're going to be working on, but it'll be something. We don't know what. It'll be something. So when I get done here, I'm going to go get on the treadmill and peruse the new catalog. Yeah, baby. That'll be fun. Well, not the treadmill part. The treadmill. Treadmill is not fun. Come on, man. Okay, so there's our card. And then I'm just going to put a little more of this DSP. And you know what, guys? This does have an up and a down. Let me see if I did the up and the down right on this one. I did not. See? That's a down. Oh, well. Somebody's going to get that card and be like, she said she'd screwed it up, and she was right. So, you know, if these are things that matter to you, pay attention to the uppy-downy part of the program. All right. Almost done. I appreciate you sticking with me. This was a little bit too small of a piece. Let me see if that's going to be too small. No, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. If you run out and you have a little too much showing there, as long as you have enough adhesive here, and you'll see it, I'm definitely going to, you can make that work. Don't be fretting over that. Don't be wasting that DSP, baby. It's too pretty. And you can't get it anymore after like a month. And then just take it and go right across cut it right straight across. Trim that off. And you get just a little different shaved envelope, but I mean, who looks at that? They're gonna rip it open anyway. And you got plenty of, stick them there and you'll be ready to go. So there you go, guys. Cottage Rose and the Blossom, Cottage Flowers die set, retiring soon. Get them now or forever, you know, hold your peace. And also the natural trim ribbon. You need it. And of course, stitched rectangles. I'm just not even going to tell you to get it because you just should if you don't have it. Okay? All right. Okay, guys, I appreciate you spending part of your day with me. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope I will see you on Saturday. Thank you so much. Ta!